Way back in the day, when we first started doing a trial of RDX-N, my agronomist, Matt, he works for me, and he hated this idea when I brought it to him. He absolutely thought it was just one more snake oil product that I'm bringing in and I'm getting bamboozled on. So we ended up applying it, and he started doing tissue samples on this thing every week and comparing it to the control group right next to it. And he comes to me about 3 or 4 weeks later after that and says, like, hey, I hate to say it, but it's kind of turning out better than the other spots, right? Like, I really don't want this to be the case, but it's working. And I said, well, that's good, but let's take it all the way to yield, because tissue samples don't actually pay bills.
That's right, yeah.
So then we took it to yield. We had great results from that. We saw all the micros much higher. All of the nitrogen that was in the actual RDX-N was higher than where we'd actually pulled the nitrogen out. Then we started looking at everybody else's trials that's around this doing it well. PTI Farm was a great one where they had a great trial. Xharel had a great trial with it. And we're saying, all right, like, there's not just smoke here. There's some fire too. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's I'm going to talk about optionality, right? Because me as a producer, you as a producer, we look at this thing differently and say, yeah, it's not for everyone.
Right.
Right. I have this type of equipment. I can't put it. Well, we're talking about low use rate, 16 ounce rate. We're talking about in-furrow. There is not a foliar applied application today, or seed applied, but in-furrow application or wide drop. What did you see this success?
So when we did it with the wide drop, which is obviously where we like to place this product most, is in the wide drop. But really, when you're talking about RDX-N and you're talking about the use rate, we can find a way to get it into your system in almost any environment. You just literally put no liquid down in your system at any given time, which I don't know any systems that really do that, but other than that, we can find a way to get it in there. It's now a question of utilizing people like us that have looked at it and worked with it in different ways and found that, okay, this is the best way we can get it to that plant. And if we can get it to that plant, be it in-furrow, be it even if it was broadcast on the surface, which we don't prefer to do, but there's a way to get it there, we can get that plant to have the effects that we need, right?
Yep, absolutely. And I mean, for the folks that are trying, you can go out there and Google some stuff too if you want to check it out. We can get wheat. I know in Northern Illinois, not a lot of wheat, but there is, right? For the guys that are looking at wheat with RDX-N, there's optionality in crops. We actually were doing some stuff with cabbage, and there's some really cool stuff. It's a nitrogen replacement tool, but I want to talk about your business a little bit with Forge advising.
So let me interject on that. We need to also remember that this doesn't apply to every type of nitrogen.
Okay.
Right? So like we're talking about wheat and we're talking about corn a lot because that's where you put synthetic nitrogen on, and that's where this product works. So if you're talking about manure, if you're talking about organic matter nitrogen, those kind of things you need to treat differently. We have ways to manage that, but RDX-N is made specifically to work on your synthetic nitrogens and that load.
Well said, well said, yeah. And again, that 32, that's dry, right? But 32, 28. Yep. Anywhere we're actually, I call it an abundance of nutrients, abundance of nitrogen. If we're in that environment where I'm going to talk about NUEs for a second.
Yep, absolutely.
If we're in that environment where we're a 1-to-1 or below, it's a pint. If you start getting into that situation where we're having way too much nitrogen in the plant, we know this, right? We're storing that nitrogen in the leaf vacuole and we're causing that stress. But if we're putting like a 1-to-1 or a 1.1 or anything higher than that, we would recommend a split application, a 32 ounce rate.
Right. And it's something new. Some growers might not even know what NUE is. So NUE is nitrogen use efficiency, and that's talking about you take all of the pounds of nitrogen that you put on in the season, and then you compare that to the yield that you got, right? And that's your NUE. So growers normally say, like, all right, I'm shooting for a 200 yield goal, so I'm going to put 200 units of nitrogen on. It's a nice, clean metric that we've used in this industry for a long time. Some people who are higher management growers who are trying to get lower on that NUE, they might get down to 0.7 if they're doing really good. Maybe 0.6 is kind of like you are really running lean, right? If you get down too low, then you're giving up yield.
That's right. And that is that sweet spot, trying to find that sweet spot. That sweet spot.
Now, when you're using RDX-N, that changes the equation altogether. RDX-N, there's people that we've talked to that are getting down to crazy numbers like 0.3, that if you would ask me a year ago, like, oh, is 0.3 possible? I'd say, I've not seen it, right? I've not seen any examples of it, but now I've talked to people who've actually done it.